In the heart of the 16th century, the world of medicine was a realm of shadows and whispers, governed not by sight, but by scripture. For over 1,300 years, a single name held absolute dominion over the human body: Galen of Pergamon. His ancient texts, written in the 2nd century, were not just guidelines, they were gospel. Doctors and scholars across Europe studied his words, memorized his diagrams, and repeated his conclusions without question. They believed they knew the intricate map of man, but they were reading from a flawed atlas. Galen, constrained by the taboos of his time, had rarely, if ever, dissected a human. His knowledge was built upon the bodies of apes, pigs, and goats. For centuries, the medical world had been studying a ghost, a pale imitation of the real thing. But in the halls of the University of Padua, a revolution was stirring. A young, brilliant, and audacious anatomist named Andreas Vesalius was about to ignite a fire that would illuminate the darkest corners of medical ignorance. Vesalius was a prodigy, a man consumed by an insatiable curiosity for the true architecture of the human form. He wasn't content with dusty scrolls and second-hand knowledge. He needed to see for himself. He began to conduct his own human dissections, a practice still fraught with controversy and condemnation. In the cold, candlelit anatomy theaters, surrounded by eager students and skeptical peers, Vesalius laid bare the truth. With each incision, with every layer of tissue he peeled back, the chasm between Galen's revered texts and the reality before him grew wider. He discovered that the human jawbone was a single bone, not two as Galen had claimed. He found that the human sternum had 3 parts, not 7 like an ape's. The liver, the heart, the very veins that carried life through the body, all were different from the accepted dogma. These were not minor errors, they were fundamental flaws in the very foundation of medicine. To challenge Galen was to challenge 13 centuries of authority. It was heresy. But Vesalius was armed with an undeniable weapon, the truth written in muscle, bone, and blood. He knew he could not simply speak this truth, he had to show it to the world. He embarked on a monumental project, a magnum opus that would change everything. He collaborated with the finest artists from Titian's workshop, guiding their hands to create illustrations of unparalleled detail and accuracy. These were not the crude, stylized sketches of the past. They were breathtaking works of art and science, depicting the human body with a realism never before seen. Skeletons posed in dramatic landscapes, muscle men stood like classical statues, each image a testament to the beauty and complexity of the human machine. In 1543, after years of tireless work, Vesalius published his masterpiece, De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the fabric of the human body. It was a book that shook the world. The 7 volumes were a direct visual assault on the established order. It was a declaration that knowledge should come from direct observation, from evidence, not from blind faith in ancient authority. The backlash was immediate and fierce. The old guard, the disciples of Galen, were outraged. They called him an arrogant upstart, a desecrator, a heretic. His own teacher, Jacobus Silvius, a staunch Galenist, turned on him, denouncing him with venomous fury. Vesalius was accused of impiety, of challenging the perfection of the ancients, and by extension, the order of the world. The pressure was immense. Disheartened by the vicious attacks, Vesalius reportedly burned many of his remaining notes in a fit of despair. He abandoned his academic post and became the court physician to Emperor Charles V. It seemed as though the revolution he had started might flicker and die. But the seeds had been planted. De Fabrica was too powerful, its images too compelling, its evidence too clear to be ignored. A new generation of doctors and anatomists began to look with their own eyes, to trust their own hands. The book was copied, studied, and debated across the continent. It became the cornerstone of a new era of medicine, one founded on empirical evidence and scientific inquiry. Andreas Vesalius tore down a temple of dogma that had stood for over a millennium, and in its place he built a foundation of truth upon which all of modern medicine now stands. He taught us not just what was inside our bodies, but that the bravest act in science is to look for oneself and to dare to believe what you see. subscribe.